Little Jack. Let's jump straight back into it, boys and girls. I gotta get that record, bro. Gotta get that record. Nothing else to it. Where is chat? Hello, Tonk. Hello, Doors. Joe Kenzie. I'm back, chat. I'm back at it. We're getting the record. You know you're so cute, James. Hello, Jax. Jaxie Waxy. Don't do this to yourself. I got this. Look at this guy right here. 1 hour, 31 minutes. You know how close I was? You want to know how close I was, chat? 3 minutes. I was 3 minutes off the record last stream. I hate you too, King Saver. I was 3 minutes off the record. 3 minutes. Ridiculous. Not fair. Injustice. This was a misattribution of justice. A total mischaracterization. Completely unfair. A misappropriation of justice. We will not stand for it. I won't stand for it. Grrrah! Like grrrah, keep it on stack. I won't let it happen again. Okay, we just need 1 hour, 30 minutes. Isabella said stop. I'm sorry, Isabella. I'm sorry, I'm not able to stop. There's no stopping. Why does both sound British and American at the same time? Really? You really asking me if I'm fucking British? You really asking if I'm British, mate? You really asking if I'm British? Yeah? Come on in, Tiny.
So, if we are going, I should book the tickets now. So I'm going to go book them now.
That sounds great.
So we'll be leaving at about 6 in the morning, which means leaving from our house about... No, hang on, we'll be leaving about 7.
Oh, man.
We'll be leaving our house at about 4 in the morning.
That's crazy.
And then we'll be leaving Sydney at about 8.
Wait, that's crazy, bro.
Does that make you happy?
Chat, Sydney trip 2024?
So we'll be there for about 10 hours.
Okay. Thanks for the info.
I don't have your credit card, so maybe I'll just put it on mine.
My credit card's in my room. In my other room under the PC, in my wallet. Chat, you're not to go looking for my wallet.
On the 28th, right? Yeah, the 28th.
You're not to go looking for my wallet. Longest time without blinking. Yeah, how do I link this? How do I add this on? I don't know how to link this, chat. I don't know how to link this. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm ready to go again. Who's ready to go again? He blinked again. The timer's not going yet. I'm ready to go again. 1 hour, 32 minutes. I got this. Shoot. Do I got this? I hope so. Bro, imagine if the record was any longer. I would not got this. Ooh. Alright. Lights on, chat. Lights on. Nobody's called fake. I'm not reading chat this time. You guys keep making me lose. It's the one consistent thing. It's the one great consistency in my life is that chat what makes me lose. Okay? I won't have it. Ooh, I had a better score like down here. This was my high score when I had it down here. This was my high score. I'm just now remembering. Okay, yeah. So we can see the bottom eyes, so we can actually see if I blink or not. Yeah. This is better. This is smart. This is the smart way to set it up. Okay, chat. Nah. How the frick? What? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah. You got this, Normie. Harry Potter's gonna get me through this. Listen to Harry Potter book. It's been like at least 6 years since I heard that. I think Normie brain is lower than the first grader. That's true. Thank you, Sunset Goldie AS Productions 2024. Bro, he's gonna be possessed. I'm not being possessed. Go back to being. Please go back to old Normie. Bruh. What is the old Normie? I was always like this. I'm not gonna lie, I was always like this. People say go back to the old Normie. Did you watch the same videos, bruh? Did you watch my videos back then? What old Normie? What old Normie are you referring to? I was always like this. Whee! Anyway, ready to go. Gotta get the hair out of my eyes. There's a big one. It actually made me lose last time. Low key. Okay. Harry Potter, where's Harry Potter at? Come on.
I'd like a dragon. You'd like one? Wanted one ever since I was a kid.
I want a
Here
dragon.
we go. They had reached the station. There was a train to London in 5 minutes' time. Hagrid, who didn't understand muggle money, as he called it, gave the bills to Harry so he could buy their tickets. People stared more than ever on the train. Hagrid took up 2 seats and sat knitting what looked like a canary yellow circus tent.
God
Still got
damn,
yours, Harry?
Normie!
He asked.
Harry
as he
Potter's just not
counted
doing it for me
stitches.
anymore.
Harry took the
God
parchment envelope out of
damn!
his
Harry Potter's
pocket.
not doing it for me.
Good, said
Right.
Hagrid. There's a list of everything you need. Harry unfolded a second piece of paper he hadn't noticed the night before and read. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Uniform. First-year students will require 3 sets of plain work robes, black. 1 plain pointed hat, black for day wear. 1 pair of protective gloves, dragon hide or similar. 1 winter cloak, black, silver fastenings. Please note that all pupils' clothes should carry name tags. Course books.
Thanks for the dono.
All
Can't read
students
chat
should have
though.
a copy of
I'm blocking
each of
chat.
the
Don't donate
following.
any money. I won't see it.
The Standard Book of Spells, Grade
But
1.
thanks for the dono.
by
Allowed
Miranda Goswell.
Bulgarian.
A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot.
Thank you.
Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffling. A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration by Emmerich Switch. 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Phililda Spore. Magical Draughts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander.
Hey, that's a movie.
The Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection by Quentin Trimble. Other equipment.
This is gonna be
1
Normie
wand.
soon.
1 cauldron.
Wow.
Pewter,
Thanks for the
standard
support,
size 2.
guys.
1 set glass or crystal files. 1 telescope. 1 set brass scales. Students may also bring an owl or a cat or a toad. Parents are reminded that first years are not allowed their own broomsticks. Can we buy all this in London? Harry wondered aloud. If you know where to go, said Hagrid. Harry had never been to London before, although Hagrid seemed to know where he was going. He was obviously not used to getting there in an ordinary way. He got stuck in the ticket barrier on the underground and complained loudly that the seats were too small and the trains too slow. I don't know how the muggles manage without magic, he said as they climbed a broken-down escalator that led up to the bustling road lined with shops. Hagrid was so huge that he parted the crowd easily.
Stop doxing me,
All
please.
Harry had to do was keep close behind him. They passed bookshops and music stores, hamburger restaurants and cinemas, but nowhere that looked as if it could sell you a magic wand. This was just an ordinary street full of ordinary people. Could there really be piles of wizard gold buried miles beneath them? Were there really shops that sold spellbooks and broomsticks? Might this not be all some huge joke that the Dursleys had cooked up? If Harry hadn't known that the Dursleys had no sense of humour, he might have thought so. Yet somehow, even though everything Hagrid had told him so far was unbelievable, Harry couldn't help trusting him. This is it, said Hagrid, coming to a halt. The Leaky Cauldron. It's a famous place. It was a tiny, grubby-looking pub. If Hagrid hadn't pointed it out, Harry wouldn't have noticed it was there. The people hurrying by didn't glance at it. Their eyes slid from the big bookshop on one side to the
Was that a
record
blink
shop
or
on
not,
the other,
Twitch?
as if they couldn't see the Leaky Cauldron at all.
Was that a blink?
In fact, Harry had the most peculiar feeling that only he and Hagrid could see it. Before he could mention this, Hagrid had steered him inside. For a famous place, it was very dark and shabby. A few old women were sitting in the corner, drinking tiny glasses of sherry. One of them was smoking a long pipe. A small man in a top hat was talking to the old bartender, who was quite bald and looked like a toothless walnut. The low buzz of chatter stopped when they walked in. Everyone seemed to know Hagrid. They waved and smiled at him, and the bartender reached for a glass, saying, "The usual, Hagrid?" "Can't, Tom. I'm on Hogwarts business," said Hagrid, clapping his great hand on Harry's shoulder and making Harry's knees buckle. "Good Lord," said the bartender, peering at Harry. Can this be? The Leaky Cauldron had suddenly gone completely still and silent. "Bless my soul," whispered the old bartender. "Harry Potter. What an honour." He hurried out from behind the bar, rushed towards Harry and seized his hand, tears in his eyes. "Welcome back, Mr. Potter. Welcome back." Harry didn't know what to say. Everyone was looking at him. The old woman with the pipe was puffing on it without realising it had gone out. Hagrid was beaming. Then there was a great scraping of chairs, and the next moment Harry found himself shaking hands with everyone in the Leaky Cauldron.
I'm about to say
Doris
Jesus.
Crockford, Mr. Potter.
Nearly blinked.
Can't
Oh,
believe
do not
I'm
reach out
meeting
now.
you at
Okay,
last.
no more reading
So
chat.
proud, Mr. Potter, just so proud. Always wanted to shake your hand. I'm all of a flutter. Delighted, Mr. Potter, just can't tell you. Diggle's the name, Daedalus Diggle. "I've seen you before," said Harry, as Daedalus Diggle's top hat fell off in excitement. "You bowed to me once in a shop." "He remembers," cried Daedalus Diggle, looking around at everyone. "Did you hear that? He remembers me." Harry shook hands again and again. Doris Crockford kept coming back for more. A pale young man made his way forward very nervously. One of his eyes was twitching. "Professor Quirrell," said Hagrid. "Harry, Professor Quirrell will be one of your teachers at Hogwarts." "But Potter," stammered Professor Quirrell, grasping Harry's hand. "Can't tell you how pleased I am to meet you." "What sort of magic do you teach, Professor Quirrell?" "The defence against the dark arts," muttered Professor Quirrell, as though he'd rather not think about it. "Not that you need it, eh, Potter?" He laughed nervously. "You'll be getting all your equipment, I suppose? I've got to pick up a new book on vampires myself." He looked terrified at the very thought. But the others wouldn't let Professor Quirrell keep Harry to himself. It took almost 10 minutes to get away from all of them. At last, Hagrid managed to make himself heard over the babble. "Must get on, lots to buy. Come on, Harry." Doris Crockford shook Harry's hand one last time, and Hagrid led them through the bar and out into the small, walled courtyard, where there was nothing but a trash can and a few weeds. Hagrid grinned at Harry. "Told you, didn't I? Told you were famous. Even Professor Quirrell was trembling to meet you. Mind you, he's usually trembling." "Is he always that nervous?" "Oh, yeah, poor bloke. Brilliant mind. He was fine while he was studying our books, but then he took a year off. to get some first-hand experience. They say you met vampires in the Black Forest. And then there was a bit of nasty trouble with a hag. Never been the same since. Scared of the students, scared of his own subject. Now, where's my umbrella? Vampires? Hags? Harry's head was swimming. Hagrid, meanwhile, was counting bricks in the wall above the trash can. 3 up, 2 across, he muttered. Right, stand back, Harry. He tapped the wall 3 times with the point of his umbrella. The brick he had touched quivered. It wriggled. In the middle, a small hole appeared. It grew wider and wider. A second later, they were facing an archway large enough even for Hagrid, an archway onto a cobbled street that twisted and turned out of sight. Welcome, said Hagrid, to Diagon Alley.
Diagonal.
He grinned at Harry's amazement. They stepped through the archway. Harry looked quickly over his shoulder and saw the archway shrink instantly back into a solid wall. The sun shined brightly on the stack of cauldrons outside the nearest shop. Cauldrons all sizes, copper, brass, pewter, silver, self-stirring, collapsible.
Are you trying
said
to
a
go to a
sign hanging
hospital?
over
No.
them. Yeah, you'll be needing one, said Hagrid. We've got to get your money first.
No.
Harry wished
I
he had
never
about 8
go to
more eyes.
hospital.
He turned his head in every direction as they walked up the street, trying to look at everything at once. The shops, the things outside them, the people doing their shopping. A plump woman outside an apothecary was shaking her head as they passed, saying, Dragon liver, 16 sickles an ounce, they're mad. A low, soft hooting came from a dark shop with a sign saying Eloop's Owl Emporium. Tawny, screech, barn, brown and snowy. Several boys of about Harry's age had their noses pressed against a window with broomsticks in it. Look, Harry heard one of them say. The new Nimbus 2000, fastest ever. There were shops selling robes, shops selling telescopes and strange silver instruments Harry had never seen before. Windows stacked with barrels of bat spleens and eel's eyes, tottering piles of spellbooks, quills and rolls of parchment, potion bowls, globes of the moon. Gringotts, said Hagrid. They'd reached a snowy white building that towered over the other little shops. Standing beside its burnished bronze doors, wearing a uniform of scarlet and gold was... Yeah, that's a goblin, said Hagrid quietly as they walked up the white stone steps towards him. The goblin was about a head shorter than Harry. He had a swarthy, clever face, a pointy beard, and Harry noticed very long fingers and feet. He bowed as they walked inside. Now they were facing a second pair of doors, silver this time, with words engraved upon them. Enter, stranger, but take heed of what awaits the sin of greed. For those who take but do not earn must pay most dearly in their turn. So if you seek beneath our floors a treasure that was never yours, thief, you have been warned, beware of finding more than treasure there. Like I said, you'd be mad to try and rob it, said Hagrid. A pair of goblins bowed them through the silver doors, and they were in a vast marble hall. About 100 more goblins were sitting on high stools behind a long counter, scribbling in large ledgers, weighing coins in brass scales, examining precious stones through eyeglasses. There were too many doors to count, leading off the hall, and yet more goblins were showing people in and out of these. Hagrid and Harry made for the counter. Morning, said Hagrid to a free goblin. We've come to take some money out of Mr. Potter's safe. You have his keys, sir? Got it here somewhere, said Hagrid, and he started emptying his pockets onto the counter, scattering a handful of mouldy dog biscuits over the goblin's book of numbers. The goblin wrinkled his nose. Harry watched the goblin on their right weighing a pile of rubies as big as glowing coals. Got it, said Hagrid at last, holding up a tiny golden key. The goblin looked at it closely. That seems to be in order. Ah, I've also got a letter here from Professor Dumbledore, said Hagrid importantly, throwing out his chest. It's about you-know-what in Vault 713. The goblin read the letter carefully. Very well, he said, handing it back to Hagrid. I will have someone take you down to both vaults. Griphook! Griphook was yet another goblin. Once Hagrid had crammed all the dog biscuits back inside his pockets, he and Harry followed Griphook towards one of the doors leading off the hall. What's the you-know-what in Vault 713? Harry asked. Can't tell you that, said Hagrid mysteriously. Very secret. Hogwarts business. Dumbledore's trusted me. More of my job's worth to tell you that. Griphook held the door open for them. Harry, who had expected more marble, was surprised. They were in a narrow stone passageway, lit with flaming torches. It sloped steeply downwards, and there were little railway tracks on the floor. Griphook whistled, and a small car came hurtling up the tracks towards them. They climbed in, Hagrid with some difficulty, and were off. At first, they just hurtled through a maze of twisting passages. Harry tried to remember left, right, left, middle fork, right, left, but it was impossible. The rattling cart seemed to know its own way because Griphook wasn't steering. Harry's eyes stung as the cold air rushed past them, but he kept them
Oof.
wide open.
Your eyes are singing,
Once,
Harry?
he thought he saw a burst of fire at the end of a passage and twisted around to see if it was a dragon, but too late. They plunged even deeper, passing an underground lake where huge stalactites and stalagmites grew from the ceiling and floor. I never know, Harry called to Hagrid over the noise of the cart. What's the difference between a stalagmite and a stalactite? Stalagmite's got an M in it, said Hagrid. Don't ask me questions just now. I think I'm going to be sick. He did look very green, and when the cart stopped at last beside a small door in the passage wall, Hagrid got out and had to lean against the wall to stop his knees from trembling. Griphook unlocked the door. A lot of green smoke came billowing out. As it cleared, Harry gasped. Inside were mounds of gold coins, columns of silver, heaps of little bronze nuts. All yours, smiled Hagrid. All Harry's? It was incredible. The Dursleys couldn't have known about this, or they'd have had it from him faster than blinking. How often had they complained about how much Harry cost them to keep? And all the time, there had been a small fortune belonging to him buried deep under London. Hagrid helped Harry pile some of it into a bag. The gold ones are galleons, he explained. 17 silver sickles to a galleon and 29 knots to a sickle.
Someone super
It's
chat
easy enough,
$5
right?
saying I
That
blinked.
should be
That's
enough
not
for
true.
a couple of terms. We'll keep the rest safe for you. He turned to Griphook. Vault 713 now, please. And can we go more slowly? One speed only, said Griphook. They were going even deeper now and gathering speed. The air became colder and colder as they hurtled round tight corners. They went rattling over an underground ravine, and Harry leaned over the side to try and see what was down at the dark bottom. But Hagrid groaned and pulled him back by the scruff of his neck. Vault 713 had no keyhole. Stand back, said Griphook importantly. He stroked the door gently with one of his long fingers, and it simply melted away. If anyone but a Gringotts goblin tried that, they'd be sucked through the door and trapped in there, said Griphook. Well, how often do you check to see if anyone's inside? Harry asked. About once every 10 years, said Griphook with a rather nasty grin. Something really extraordinary had to be inside this top security vault, Harry was sure, and he leaned forward eagerly, expecting to see fabulous jewels at the very least.
Twitch.
But at first, he thought it was empty. Then he noticed a grubby little package wrapped up in brown
Hi,
paper
Twitch.
lying on the floor. Hagrid picked it up and tucked it deep inside his coat. Harry longed to know what it was, but knew better than to ask. Come on, back in this infernal car, and don't talk to me on the way back. It's best if I keep my mouth shut, said Hagrid. One wild cart ride later, they stood blinking in the sunlight outside Gringotts. Harry didn't know where to run first. Now he had a bag full of money. He didn't have to know how many galleons there were to a pound to know that he was holding more money than he'd ever had in his whole life, more money than even Dudley had ever had. Might as well get your uniform, said Hagrid, nodding towards Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions.
He
Listen,
looks
Harry,
high.
would you mind if I slipped off for a pick-me-up in the leaky cauldron? I hate them Gringotts carts. He did still look a bit sick, so Harry entered Madame Malkin's shop alone, feeling nervous. Madame Malkin was a squat, smiling witch, dressed all in mauve. Hogwarts, dear, she said, when Harry started to speak. Got the lot here. Another young man being fitted up just now, in fact. In the back of the shop, a boy with a pale, pointy face was standing on a footstool, while the second witch pinned up his long black robes. Madame Malkin stood Harry on a stool next to him, slipped a long robe over his head, and began to pin it to the right length. "Hello," said the boy. "Hogwarts too?" "Yes," said Harry. "My father's next door buying me books, and mother's up the street looking at wands," said the boy. He had a bored, drawing face. "Then I'm going to drag them off to look at racing brooms. I don't see why first years can't have their own. I think I'll bully father into getting me one, and I'll smuggle it somehow." Harry was reminded strongly of Dudley. "Have you got your own broom?" the boy went on. "No," said Harry. "Play Quidditch at all?" "No," Harry said again, wondering what on earth Quidditch could be. "I do. Father says it's a crime if I'm not picked to play for my house, and I must say I agree. Know what house you'll be in yet?" "No," said Harry, feeling more stupid by the minute. "Well, no one really does until they're there, do they? But I know I'll be in Slytherin. All our family have been. Imagine being in Hufflepuff. I think I'd leave, wouldn't you?" Said Harry, wishing he could say something a bit more interesting. "I say, look at that man," said the boy suddenly, nodding towards the front window. Hagrid was standing there, grinning at Harry and pointing at 2 large ice creams to show that he couldn't come in. "That's Hagrid," said Harry, pleased to know something the boy didn't. "He works at Hogwarts." "Oh," said the boy. "I've heard of him. He's sort of servant, isn't he?" "He's the gamekeeper," said Harry. He was liking the boy less and less every second. "Yes, exactly. I heard he's sort of savage, lives in a hut on the school grounds, and every now he gets drunk, tries to do magic, and ends up setting fire to his bed." "I think he's brilliant," said Harry coldly. "Do you?" said the boy with a slight sneer. "Why is he with you? Where are your parents?" "They're dead," said Harry shortly. He didn't feel much like going into the matter with this boy. "Oh, sorry," said the other, not sounding sorry at all. "But they were our kind, weren't they?" They were a witch and wizard, if that's what you mean." "I really don't think they should let the others sort in, do you? They're just not the same. They've never been brought up to know our ways. Some of them never even heard of Hogwarts until they got the letter. Imagine! I think they should keep it all in the old wizarding families. What's your surname, anyway?" But before Harry could answer, Madame Malkin said, "Has you done, my dear?" And Harry, not sorry for an excuse to stop talking to the boy, hopped down from the footstool. "Well, I'll see you at Hogwarts, I suppose," said the drawling boy. Harry was rather quiet as he ate the ice cream with Hagrid. "What's up?" said Hagrid. "Nothing," Harry lied. They stopped to buy parchment and quills. Harry cheered up a bit when he found a bottle of ink that changed colour as you wrote. When they left the shop, he said, "Hagrid, what's Quidditch?" "Blimey, Harry, I keep forgetting how little you know. Not knowing about
Did he
Quidditch."
blink? Nope.
"Don't make me feel
I don't
worse,"
think so.
said Harry. He told Hagrid about the pale boy and Madame Malkin's.
Play it back in
And he
slow
said
mo if you
people from
think.
Muggle families shouldn't even be
Think I
allowed
did.
in. "You're not from a Muggle family. If he'd known who you were, he's grown up knowing your name. If his parents were wizarding folk, you saw what everyone in the Leaky Cauldron was like when they saw you. Anyway, what does he know about it? Some of the best I ever saw were the only ones with magic in 'em, and a long line of Muggles. Look at your mum. Look what she had for a sister." "So what is Quidditch?" "It's our sport, wizard sport. It's like soccer in the Muggle world. Everyone follows Quidditch. Played up in the air on broomsticks, and it's 4 balls, sort of hard to explain the rules." "And what are Slytherin and Hufflepuff?" "Schoolhouses. There's 4. Everyone says Hufflepuff are a lot of doffers, but I bet I mean Hufflepuff," said Harry gloomily. "Better Hufflepuff than Slytherin," said Hagrid darkly. "There's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. You know who was one." Sorry, you know who was at Hogwarts?" "Years and years ago," said Hagrid. They bought Harry schoolbooks in a shop called Flourish and Bots, where the shelves were stacked to the ceiling with books as large as paving stones, bound in leather, books the size of postage stamps in covers of silk, books full of peculiar symbols, and a few books with nothing in them at all. Even Dudley, who never read anything, would have been wild to get his hands on some of these. Hagrid almost had to drag Harry away from curses and counter-curses. Bewitch your friends and befuddle your enemies with the latest revenges, hair loss, jelly legs, tongue-tied and much, much more by Professor Vindictus Viridian. I was trying to find how to curse Dudley. I'm not saying that's a good idea, but you're not to use magic in the Muggle world except in a very special circumstance, said Hagrid. And anyway, you couldn't work any of them curses yet. You'll need a lot more study before you can get to that level. Hagrid wouldn't let Harry buy a solid gold cauldron either. It says pewter on your list. But they got a nice set of scales for weighing potion ingredients and a collapsible brass telescope. Then they visited the apothecary, which was fascinating enough to make up for its horrible smell. A mixture of bad eggs and rotted cabbages. Barrels of slimy stuff stood on the floor. Jars of herbs, dried roots, and bright powders lined the walls. Bundles of feathers, strings of fangs, and snarled claws hung from the ceiling.
Are
While
you
Hagrid
okay, bro?
asked the
Yeah,
man
I'm
behind
good.
the counter for a supply of some basic magic potions for Harry, Harry himself examined silver
needs
unicorn
better
horns
lighting.
at 21 galleons each, and minuscule, glittery black beetle eyes, 5 nuts a scoop.
My lighting is great.
Outside the apothecary, Hagrid checked Harry's list again.
I gotta stop reading
Just your
chat. You
wand
guys are
left.
messing with me.
Oh yeah, and I still haven't got your birthday present. Harry felt himself go red. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Tell you what, I'll get your animal. Not a toad. Toads went out of fashion years ago. You'd be laughed at. I don't like cats. They make me sneeze. I'll get your owl. All the kids want owls. They're dead useful. Carry your mail and everything. 20 minutes later, they left Iloop's Owl Emporium, which had been dark and full of rustling and flickering, jewel bright eyes. Harry now carried a large cage that held a beautiful snowy owl, fast asleep with her head under her wing. He couldn't stop stammering his thanks, sounding just like Professor Quirrell. Don't mention it, said Hagrid gruffly. Don't expect you've had a lot of presents from them Dursleys. Just Ollivanders now. Only place for wands. Ollivanders. And you've got to have the best wand. A magic wand. This was what Harry had really been looking forward to. The last shop was narrow and shabby. Peeling gold letters over the door read Ollivanders, makers of fine wands since 382 BC. A single wand lay on a faded purple cushion in the dusty window. A tinkling bell rang somewhere in the depths of the shop as they stepped inside. It was a tiny place, empty except for a single spindly chair that Hagrid sat on to wait. Harry felt strangely as though he'd entered a very strict library. He swallowed a lot of new questions that had just occurred to him and looked instead at the thousands of narrow boxes piled neatly right up to the ceiling. For some reason, the back of his neck prickled. The very dust and silence in here seemed to tingle with some secret magic. Good afternoon, said a soft voice. Harry jumped. Hagrid must have jumped too, because there was a loud crunching noise, and he got quickly off the spindly chair. An old man was standing before them, his wide, pale eyes shining like moons through the gloom of the shop. Hello, said Harry awkwardly. Ah, yes, said the man. Yes, yes, I thought I'd be seeing you soon, Harry Potter. It wasn't a question. You have your mother's eyes. Seems only yesterday she was in here herself buying her first wand. 10 1/4 inches long, swishy, made of willow. Nice wand for charm work. Mr. Ollivander moved closer to Harry. Harry wished he would blink. Those silvery eyes were a bit creepy. Your father, on the other hand, favoured a mahogany wand. 11 inches, pliable, little more power and excellent for transfiguration. When I say your father favoured it, it's really the one that chooses the wizard, of course. Mr. Ollivander had come so close that he and Harry were almost nose to nose. Harry could see himself reflected in those misty eyes. And that's where Mr. Ollivander touched the lightning scar on Harry's forehead with a long white finger. I'm sorry to say I sold the one that did it, he said softly. 13 1/2 inches. You, powerful one, very powerful. And in the wrong hands. Well, if I'd known what that one was going out into the world to do. He shook his head, and then, to Harry's relief, spotted Hagrid. Rubius Hagrid, how nice to see you again. Oak, 16 inches, rather bendy, wasn't it? It was, sir, yes, said Hagrid. Good one, that one. But I suppose they snapped in half when you got expelled, said Mr. Ollivander, suddenly stern. Yes, they did, yes, said Hagrid, shuffling his feet. I still got the pieces, though, he added brightly. But you don't use them? Said Mr. Ollivander sharply. Oh, no, sir, said Harry quickly. Harry noticed he gripped his pink umbrella very tightly as he spoke. Said Mr. Ollivander, giving Hagrid a piercing look. Well, now, Mr. Potter, let me see. He pulled a long tape measure with silver markings out of his pocket. Which is your wand arm? Well, I'm right-handed, said Harry. Hold out your arm, that's it. He measured Harry from shoulder to finger, then wrist to elbow, shoulder to floor, knee to armpit, and round his head. As he measured, he said, Every Ollivander wand has a core of a powerful magical substance, Mr. Potter. We use unicorn hairs, phoenix tail feathers, and the heartstrings of dragons. No two Ollivander wands are the same, just as no two unicorns, dragons, or phoenixes are quite the same. And of course, you will never get such good results with another's wand. Harry suddenly realised that the tape measure, which was measuring between his nostrils, was doing this on its own. Mr. Ollivander was flitting around the shelves, taking down boxes. That will do, he said, and the tape measure crumpled into a heap on the floor. Right then, Mr. Potter, try this one, beechwood and dragon heartstring, 9 inches, nice and flexible. Just take it and give it a wave. Harry took the wand and, feeling foolish, waved it around a bit, but Mr. Ollivander snatched it out of his hand almost at once. Maple and phoenix feather, 7 inches, quite whippy. Try. Harry tried, but he had hardly raised the wand when it, too, was snatched back by Mr. Ollivander. No, here. Ebony and unicorn hair, 8.5 inches. Springy. Go on, try it out. Harry tried and tried. He had no idea what Mr. Ollivander was waiting for. The pile of tried wands was mounting higher and higher on the spindly chair. But the more wands Mr. Ollivander pulled from the shelves, the happier he seemed to become. Tricky customer, eh? Not to worry. We'll find the perfect match here somewhere. I wonder. Now, yes, why not? Unusual combination. Holly and phoenix feather. 11 inches. Nice and supple. Harry took the wand. He felt a sudden warmth in his fingers. He raised the wand above his head, brought it swishing down through the dusty air, and a stream of red and gold sparks shot from the end like a firework.
This might be my last
throwing
attempt. I can
dancing
feel the
spots
blood
of
in my
light onto
eye.
the walls. Hagrid whooped and clapped, and Mr. Ollivander cried, Oh, bravo, yes, indeed, very good, well. Curious, how very curious. He put Harry's wand back into its box and wrapped it in brown paper, still muttering, Curious. Sorry, said Harry, but what's curious? Mr. Ollivander fixed Harry with his pale stare. I remember every wand I've ever sold, Mr. Potter. Every single wand. It so happens that the phoenix, whose tail feather is in your wand, gave another feather. Just one other. It is very curious, indeed, that you should be destined for this wand, when its brother, gave you that scar. Harry swallowed. Yes, 13.5 inches. Curious indeed. How these things happen. The wand chooses the wizard, remember. I think we must expect great things from you, Mr. Potter. After all, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible. Yes, but great. Harry shivered. He wasn't sure he liked Mr. Ollivander too much. He paid 7 gold galleons for his wand, and Mr. Ollivander bowed them from his shop. The late afternoon sun hung low in the sky as Harry and Hagrid made their way back down Diagon Alley, back through the wall, back through the leaky cauldron, now empty. Harry didn't speak at all as they walked down the road. He didn't even notice how much people were gawking at them on the underground, laden as they were with all their funny-shaped packages, with the snowy owl asleep in its cage on Harry's lap. Up another escalator, out into Paddington Station. Harry only realised where they were when Hagrid tapped him on the shoulder. Got time for a little bit to eat before your train leaves, he said. He brought Harry a hamburger, and they sat down on plastic seats to eat them. Harry kept looking around. Everything looked so strange, somehow. You all right, Harry? You're very quiet, said Hagrid. Harry wasn't sure he could explain. He had just had the best birthday of his life, and yet he chewed his hamburger, trying to find the words. Everyone thinks I'm special, he said at last. All these people in the leaky cauldron, Professor Quirrell, Mr. Ollivander, but I don't know anything about magic at all. How could they expect great things? I'm famous, and I can't even remember what I'm famous for. I don't know what happened when the night my parents died. Hagrid leaned across the table. Behind the wild beard and eyebrows, he wore a very kind smile. Don't you worry, Harry. You'll learn fast enough.
Y'all think
Everyone
this
starts
is
at the
fake?
beginning at Hogwarts. You'll just
At
be
this
fine.
point, his eyes
Just
not
be
even that
yourself.
red.
I know it's hard. You've been singled out, and that's always hard. But you'll have a great time at Hogwarts. I did, still do. Matter of fact. Hagrid helped Harry onto the train that would take him back to the Dursleys, then handed him an envelope. Your ticket for Hogwarts, he said. 1st of September, King's Cross. It's all on your ticket. Any problems with the Dursleys, send me a letter with your owl. She'll know where to find me. See you soon, Harry. The train pulled out the station. Harry wanted to watch Hagrid until he was out of sight. He rose in his seat and pressed his nose against the window, but he blinked, and Hagrid had gone. The journey from platform 9 3/4. Harry's last month with the Dursleys wasn't fun. True, Dudley was now so scared of Harry he wouldn't stay in the same room, while Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon didn't shut Harry in his cupboard, force him to do anything, or shout at him. In fact, they didn't speak to him at all. Half terrified, half furious, they acted as though any chair with Harry in it were empty. Although this was an improvement in many ways, it did become
Don't
a
read
bit
chat, that's how
depressing
you lost.
after a while. Harry kept to his room with his new owl for company. He decided to call her Hedwig, a name he had found in a history of magic. His school books were very interesting. He lay on his bed reading late into the night, Hedwig swooping in and out of the open window as she pleased. It was lucky that Aunt Petunia didn't come in to vacuum anymore, because Hedwig kept bringing back dead mice. Every night before he went to sleep, Harry ticked off another day on the piece of paper he had pinned to the wall, counting down to September the 1st. On the last day of August, he thought he'd better speak to his aunt and uncle about getting to King's Cross Station the next day. So he went down to the living room where they were watching a quiz show on television. He cleared his throat to let them know he was there, and Dudley screamed and ran from the room. Uncle Vernon? Uncle Vernon grunted to show he was listening. I need to be at King's Cross tomorrow to go to Hogwarts. Uncle Vernon grunted again. Would it be all right if you gave me a lift? Grunt. Harry supposed that meant yes. Thank you. He was about to go back upstairs when Uncle Vernon actually spoke. Funny way to get to the wizard school, the train. Magic carpets all got punches, have they? Harry didn't say anything. Where is this school, anyway? I don't know, said Harry. Realising this for the first time, he pulled the ticket Hagrid had given him out of his pocket. I just take the train from platform 9 3/4 at 11 o'clock, he read. His aunt and uncle stared. Platform what? At 9 3/4. Don't talk rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. There's no platform 9 3/4. But it's on my ticket. Barking, said Uncle Vernon. Howling mad, the lot of them, you'll see. You just wait. All right, we'll take you to King's Cross. We're going up to London tomorrow anyway, or I wouldn't bother. Why are you going to London? Harry asked, trying to keep things friendly. Taking Dudley to the hospital, growled Uncle Vernon. Got to have that ruddy tail removed before he goes to Smeltings. Harry woke at 5 o'clock the next morning and was too excited and nervous to go back to sleep.
Is everything?
He got up and pulled on his jeans because he didn't want to walk into the station in his wizard robes. He'd change on the train. He checked his Hogwarts list yet again to make sure he had everything he needed, saw that Hedwig was shut safely in her cage, and then paced the room, waiting for the Dursleys to get up. 2 hours later, Harry's huge, heavy trunk had been loaded into the Dursleys' car.
I'm watching it back.
Aunt Petunia had talked Dudley into sitting next to Harry, and they'd set off. They reached King's Cross at 10:30. Uncle Vernon dumped Harry's trunk onto a cart and wheeled it into the station for him. Harry thought this was strangely kind until Uncle
I'm watching
Vernon
it back.
stopped dead, facing the platforms with a nasty grin on his face. Well, there you are, boy. Platform 9, platform 10. Your platform should
Nah,
be
they didn't
somewhere in the
cuz. They
middle.
didn't cuz.
But they don't seem to have built it yet, do they? He was quite right, of course.
I played it
There was
back
a big
frame by
plastic
frame.
number 9 over one platform and a big plastic number 10
Unless I did it
over the
after.
one next to it. And in the middle, nothing at all. Have a good term, said Uncle Vernon with an even nastier smile. He left without a word. Harry turned and saw the Dursleys drive away. All three of them were laughing. Harry's mouth went rather dry. What on earth was he going to do? He was starting to attract a lot of funny looks because of Hedwig. He'd have to ask somebody. He stopped a passing guard, but didn't dare
Half
mention
down, half
platform
down.
9
Play
and
it back frame by
3/4.
frame. I'm good. I'm
The
good.
guard had never heard of Hogwarts, and when Harry couldn't even tell him what part of the country he was in, he started to get annoyed, as though Harry was being stupid on purpose. Getting desperate, Harry asked for the train that left at 11 o'clock, but the guard said that there wasn't one. In the end, the guard strode away, muttering about time wasters. Harry was now trying hard not to panic. According to the large clock over the arrivals board, he had 10 minutes left to get on the train to Hogwarts, and he had no idea how to do it. He was stranded in the middle of a station with a trunk he could hardly lift, a pocket full of wizard money, and a large owl. Hagrid must have forgotten to tell him something you had to do, like tapping the third brick on the left to get into Diagon Alley. He wondered if he should get out his wand and start tapping the ticket inspector's stand between platforms 9 and 10. At that moment, a group of people passed just behind him, and he caught a few words of what they were saying. Packed with muggles, of course. Harry swung round. The speaker was a plump woman who was talking to 4 boys, all with flaming red hair. Each of them was pushing a trunk like Harry's in front of him. And
Man, it
they
keeps
had an
half
owl.
closing. I'm not gonna make it.
Heart hammering, Harry pushed his car after them.
Twitches,
They
twitches.
stopped, and so did he, just near enough to hear what they were saying. Now, what's the platform number? Said the boy's mother. 9 3/4, piped a small girl, also red-headed, who was holding her hand. Mum, can't I go? You're not old enough, Chinny. Now be quiet. All right, Percy, you go first. What looked like the oldest boy marched towards platforms 9 and 10. Harry watched, careful not to blink in case he missed it. But just as the boy reached the dividing barrier between the 2 platforms, a large crowd of tourists came swarming in front of him, and by the time the last backpacker cleared away, the boy had vanished. Fred, you next, the plump woman said. I'm not Fred, I'm George, said the boy. Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother. Can't you tell I'm George? Sorry, George, dear. Only joking. I am Fred, said the boy, and off he went. His twin called after him to hurry up, and he must have done so because a second later he had gone. But how had he done it? Now the third brother was walking briskly towards the barrier. He was almost there, and then, quite suddenly, he wasn't anywhere. There was nothing else for it. Excuse me, Harry said to the plump woman. Hello, dear, she said. First time at Hogwarts? Ron's new too. She pointed to the last and youngest of her sons. He was tall, thin, and gangling, with freckles, big hands and feet, and a long nose. Yes, said Harry. The thing is, I don't know how to get onto the platform, she said kindly, and Harry nodded. Not to worry, she said. All you have to do is walk straight to the barrier between platforms 9 and 10. Don't stop and don't be scared. You'll crash into it. That's very important. Best do it in a bit of a run if you're nervous. Go on now before Ron. Okay, said Harry.
40 minutes.
He pushed his trolley around and stared at the barrier. It looked very solid. He started to walk towards it. People jostled him on their way to the platforms 9 and 10. Harry walked more quickly. He was going to smash right into that barrier, and then he'd be in trouble. Leaning forward on his cart, he broke into a heavy run. The barrier was coming nearer and nearer. He wouldn't be able to stop. The cart was out of control. He was a foot away. He closed his eyes, ready for the crash. It didn't come. He kept on running. He opened his eyes. A scarlet steam engine was waiting next to a platform packed with people. A sign overhead said Hogwarts Express, 11 o'clock. Harry looked behind him and saw a wrought iron archway where the barrier had been, with the words platform 9 3/4 on it. He had done it. Smoke from the engine drifted over the heads of the chattering crowd, while cats of every colour wound here and there between their legs. Owls hooted to one another in a disgruntled sort of way over the babble and the scraping of heavy trunks. The first few carriages were already packed with students, some hanging out of the window to talk to their families, some fighting over seats. Harry pushed his car off down the platform in search of an empty seat. He passed a round-faced boy who was saying, "Gran, I've lost my toad again." "Oh, Neville," he heard the old woman sigh. A boy with dreadlocks was surrounded by a small crowd. "Give us a look, Lee. Go on." The boy lifted the lid of a box in his arms, and the people around him shrieked and yelled as something inside poked out a long, hairy leg. Harry pressed on through the crowd until he found an empty compartment near the end of the train. He put Hedwig inside first and then started to shove and heave his trunk towards the train door. He tried to lift it up the steps but could hardly raise one end, and twice he dropped it painfully on his foot. "Want a hand?" It was one of the red-haired twins he'd followed through the barrier. "Yes, please," Harry panted. "Oi, Fred, come here and help." With the twins' help, Harry's trunk was at last tucked away in a corner of the compartment. "Thanks," said Harry, pushing his sweaty hair out of his eyes. "What's that?" said one of the twins suddenly, pointing at Harry's lighting scar. "Blimey," said the other twin. "Are you—" "He is," said the first twin. "Aren't you—" he added to Harry. "What?" said Harry. "Harry Potter?" chorused the twins. "Oh, him," said Harry. Yes, I am." The two boys gawked at him, and Harry felt himself turning red. Then, to his relief, a voice came floating in through the train's open door. "Fred, George, are you there?" "Coming, Mum." With a last look at Harry, the twins hopped off the train. Harry sat down next to the window, where, half hidden, he could watch the red-haired family on the platform and hear what they were saying. Their mother had just taken out her handkerchief. "Ron, you've got something on your nose." The youngest boy tried to jerk out of the way, but she grabbed him and began rubbing the end of his nose. "Mum, get off." He wriggled free. "Ah, has Ickle Ronnie got something on his nosy?" said one of the twins. "Shut up," said Ron. "Where's Percy?" said their mother. "He's coming now." The oldest boy came striding into sight. He had already changed into his billowing black Hogwarts robes. Harry noticed a shiny red and gold badge on his chest with the letter P on it. "Can't stay long, Mother," he said. "I'm up front. The prefects have got 2 compartments to themselves." "Oh, are you a prefect, Percy?" said one of the twins, with an air of great surprise. "You should have said something. We had no idea." "Hang on, I think I remember him saying something about it," said the other twin. "Once, or twice, a minute, all summer." "Oh, shut up," said Percy, the prefect. "How come Percy gets new robes anyway?" said one of the twins. "Because he's a prefect," said their mother fondly. "All right, dear. Well, have a good term. Send me an hour when you get there." She kissed Percy on the cheek, and he left. She then turned to the twins. "Now, you two, this year, you behave yourselves. If I get one more owl telling me you've blown up a toilet or—" "Blown up a toilet? We've never blown up a toilet." "Great idea, though. Thanks, Mum." "It's not funny. And look after Ron." "Don't worry. Ickle Ronikins is safe with us." "Shut up," said Ron again. He was almost as tall as the twins already, and his nose was still pink where his mother had rubbed it. "When you get there." She kissed Percy on the cheek, and he left. She then turned to the twins. "Now, you two, this year, you behave yourselves. If I get one more owl telling me you've blown up a toilet or—" "Blown up a toilet? We've never
It's the
blown
same
up a
thing
toilet."
again.
"Great idea, though. Thanks, Mum." "It's not funny. And look after Ron."
I
"Don't
like
worry.
this part, though.
Ickle Ronikins is safe with us." "Shut up," said Ron again. He was almost as tall as the twins already, and his nose was still pink where his mother had rubbed it. "Hey, Mum, guess what? Guess who we just met on the train?" Harry leaned back quickly so they couldn't see him looking. "You know that black-haired boy who was near us in the station? You know who he is?" "Who?" "Harry Potter." Harry heard the little girl's voice. Oh, Mum, can I go on the train and see him? Mum, oh, please. You've already seen him, Ginny, and the poor boy isn't something you Google at in a zoo. Is he really, Fred? How do you know? Asked him. Saw his scar. It's really there, like lightning. Poor dear. No wonder he was alone. I wondered. He was ever so polite when he asked to get onto the platform. Never mind that. Do you think he remembers what you-know-who looks like? Their mother suddenly became very stern. I forbid you to ask him, Fred. No, you don't you dare. As though he needs reminding of that on his first day at school. All right, keep your hair on. A whistle sounded. Hurry up, their mother said, and the three boys clambered onto the train. They leaned out of the window for her to kiss them goodbye, and their younger sister began to cry. Don't, Ginny. We'll send you loads of owls. We'll send you a Hogwarts toilet seat. George! Only joking, Mum. The train began to move. Harry saw the boy's mother waving and their sister, half laughing, half crying, running to keep up with the train until it gathered too much speed, and then she fell back and waved. Harry watched the girl and her mother disappear as the train rounded the corner. Houses flashed past the window. Harry felt a great leap of excitement. He didn't know what he was going to do, but it had to be better than what he was leaving behind. The door of the compartment slid open, and the youngest red-headed boy came in. Anyone sitting there? He asked, pointing at the seat opposite Harry. Everywhere else is full. Harry shook his head and the boy sat down. He glanced at Harry and then looked quickly out of the window, pretending he hadn't looked. Harry saw he still had a black mark on his nose. Hey, Ron, the twins were back. Listen, we're going down the middle of the train. Lee Jordan's got a giant tarantula down there. Right, mumbled Ron. Harry, said the other twin, did we introduce ourselves? Fred and George Weasley, and this is Ron, our brother. See you later then. Bye, said Harry and Ron. The twins slid the compartment door shut behind them. Are you really Harry Potter? Ron blurted out. Harry nodded. Oh, well, I thought it might be one of Fred and George's jokes. Have you really got, you know... He pointed at Harry's forehead. Harry pulled back his hair to show the lightning scar. Ron stared. So that's where you know who... Yes, said Harry, but I can't remember it. Nothing? Said Ron eagerly. Well, I remember a lot of green light, but nothing else. Wow, said Ron. He sat and stared at Harry for a few moments, then, as though he had suddenly realised what he was doing, he looked quickly out of the window again. Are all your family wizards? Asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron found him. Yeah, I think so, said Ron. I think Mum's got a second cousin who's an accountant, but we never talk about him. So you must know lots of magic already. The Weasleys were clearly one of those old wizarding families the pal boy in Diagon Alley had talked about. I heard you live with muggles, said Ron. What are they like? Horrible. Well, not all of them. My aunt and uncle and cousin are, though. Wish I had 3 wizard brothers. 5, said Ron. For some reason, he was looking gloomy. I'm the 6th in our family to go to Hogwarts. You could say I've got a lot to live up to. Bill and Charlie have already left. Bill was head boy and Charlie was captain of Quidditch. Now Percy's a prefect. Fred and George mess around a lot. But they still get really good marks and everyone thinks they're really funny. Everyone expects me to do well as the others, but if I do, it's no big deal because they did it first. You never get anything new either with 5 brothers. I've got Bill's old robes, Charlie's old wand, and Percy's old rat. Ron reached inside his jacket and pulled out a fat grey rat, which was asleep. His name's Scabbers and he's useless. He hardly ever wakes up. Percy got an owl from my dad for being made a prefect, but they couldn't afford... I got Scabbers instead. Ron's ears went pink. He seemed to think he'd said too much, because he went back to staring out of the window. Harry didn't think there was anything wrong with not being able to afford an owl. After all, he'd never had any money in his life until about a month ago, and he told Ron so. All about having to wear Dudley's old clothes and never getting proper birthday presents. This seemed to cheer Ron up. And until Hagrid told me, I didn't know anything about being a wizard, or about my parents, or Voldemort. Ron gasped. What? Said Harry. You said you know whose name, said Ron, sounding both shocked and impressed. I'd have thought you, of all people. I'm not trying to be brave or anything, saying the name, said Harry. I just never knew you shouldn't. See what I mean? I've got lots to learn. I bet, he added, voicing for the first time something that had been worrying him a lot lately. I bet I'm the worst in the class. You won't be. There's loads of people who come from Muggle families, and they learn quick enough. While they'd been talking, the train had carried them out of London. Now they were speeding past fields full of cows and sheep. They were quiet for a time, watching the fields and lanes flick past. Around 12:30, there was a great clattering outside in the corridor, and a smiling, dimpled woman slid back their door and said, "Anything off the cart, dears?" Harry, who hadn't had any breakfast, leapt to his feet. But Ron's ears went pink again, and he muttered that he'd brought sandwiches. Harry went out into the corridor. He had never had any money for sweets with the Dursleys, and now that he had pockets rattling with gold and silver, he was ready to buy as many Mars bars as he could carry. But the woman didn't have Mars bars. What she did have were Bertie Bott's every flavour beans, Drubel's best blowing gum, chocolate frogs, pumpkin pasties, cauldron cakes, licorice wands, and a number of other strange things Harry had never seen in his life. Not wanting to miss anything, he got some of everything and paid the woman 11 silver sickles and 7 bronze nuts. Ron stared as Harry brought it all back into the compartment and tipped it onto an empty seat. "Hungry, are you?" "Starving," said Harry, taking a large bite out of a pumpkin pasty. Ron had taken out a lumpy package and unwrapped it. There were 4 sandwiches inside. He pulled one of them apart and said, "She always forgets I don't like corned beef." "Swap you for one of these," said Harry, holding up a pasty. "Go on." "You don't want this, it's all dry," said Ron. "She hasn't got much time," he added quickly. "You know, with 5 of us." "Go on, have a pasty," said Harry, who had never had anything to share before, or indeed anyone to share it with. It was a nice feeling, sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all Harry's pasties, cakes, and candies. The sandwiches lay forgotten. "What are these?" Harry asked Ron, holding up a pack of chocolate frogs. "They're not really frogs, or are they?" He was starting to feel that nothing would surprise him. "No," said Ron, "but see what a card is. I'm missing a gripper." "What?" "Oh, of course, you wouldn't know. Chocolate frogs have cards inside them, you know, to collect. Famous witches and wizards. I got about 500, but I haven't got a gripper or Ptolemy." Harry unwrapped his chocolate frog and picked up the card. It showed a man's face. He wore half-moon glasses and had a long, crooked nose and flowing silver hair, beard and moustache. Underneath the picture was the name, Albus Dumbledore. "So this is Dumbledore," said Harry. "Don't tell me you never heard of Dumbledore," said Ron. "Can I have a frog? I might get a gripper. Thanks." Harry turned over his card and read, "Albus Dumbledore, currently headmaster of Hogwarts. Considered by many the greatest wizard of modern times. Dumbledore is particularly famous for his defeat of the dark wizard Grindelwald in 1945, for the discovery of the 12 uses of dragon's blood, and his work on alchemy with his partner Nicholas Flamel. Professor Dumbledore enjoys chamber music and 10-pin bowling." Harry turned the card back over and saw, to his astonishment, that Dumbledore's face had disappeared. "He's gone." "Well, you can't expect him to hang around all day. He'll be back. No, I've got Morgana again. I've got about 6 of her. Do you want it? You can start collecting." Ron's eyes strayed to the pile of chocolate frogs waiting to be unwrapped. "Help yourself," said Harry. "But in, the Muggle world, people just stay put in photos." "Do they? What? They don't move at all?" Ron sounded amazed. Harry stared as Dumbledore sidled back into the picture on his card and gave him a small smile. Ron was more interested in eating the frogs than looking at the famous witches and wizard cards. But Harry couldn't keep his eyes off them. Soon he had not only Dumbledore and Morgana, but Hengist of Woodcraft, Alberic Grunion, Circe, Paracilius, and Merlin. He finally tore his eyes away to open a bag of Bertie Bott's every flavour beans. "You want to be careful with those," Ron warned Harry. "When they say every flavour, they mean every flavour. You get all the ordinary ones like chocolate and peppermint and marmalade, but then you get spinach and liver and tripe. George reckons he had a bogey-flavoured one once." Ron picked up a green bean, looked at it carefully and bit into a corner. "Ugh! See? Sprouts. They had a good time eating the every flavour beans. Harry got toast, coconut, baked bean, strawberry, curry, grass, coffee, sardine, and was even brave enough to nibble the end of a funny grey one Ron wouldn't touch, which turned out to be pepper. The countryside was now flying past the window, was becoming wilder. The neat fields had gone. Now there were woods, twisting rivers, and dark green hills. There was a knock on the door of their compartment, and the round-faced boy Harry had passed on platform 9 3/4 came in. He looked tearful. "Sorry," he said, "but have you seen a toad at all?" When they shook their heads, he
These
wailed,
twitches
"I've
are gonna
lost
kill
him.
me."
He keeps getting away from me." "He'll turn up," said Harry. "Yeah," said the boy miserably. "Well, if you see him..." He left. "Don't know why he's so bothered," said Ron. "If I'd brought a toad, I'd lose it as quick as I could. Mind you, I bought Scabbers, so I can't talk." The rat was still snoozing on Ron's lap. "He might have died, and you wouldn't know the difference," said Ron in disgust. "I tried to turn him yellow yesterday to make him more interesting, but the spell didn't work. I'll show you, look." He rummaged around in his trunk and pulled out a very battered-looking wand. It was chipped in places, and something white was glinting at the end. Unicorn's hair nearly poking out. Anyway, he had just raised his wand when the compartment door slid open again. The toadless boy was back, but this time he had a girl with him. She was already wearing her new Hogwarts robes. "Has anyone seen a toad? Neville's lost one," she said. She had a bossy sort of voice, lots of bushy brown hair, and rather large front teeth. "We've already told him we haven't seen it," said Ron, but the girl wasn't listening. She was looking at the wand in his hand. "Oh, are you doing magic? Let's see then." She sat down. Ron looked taken aback. All right." He cleared his throat. "Sunshine, daisies, butter mellow. Turn this stupid farrow yellow." He waved his wand, but nothing happened. Scabbers stayed grey and fast asleep. "Are you sure that's a real spell?" said the girl. "Well, it's not very good, is it? I've tried a few simple spells, just for practice, and it's all worked for me. Nobody in my family's magic at all. It was ever such a surprise when I got my letter, but I was ever so pleased. Of course, I mean, it's the very best school of witchcraft there is, I've heard. I've learned all our course books by heart, of course. I just hope it'll be enough. I'm Hermione Granger, by the way. Who are you?" She said all this very fast. Harry looked at Ron and was relieved to see by his stunned face that he hadn't learned all the course books by heart either. "I'm Ron Weasley," Ron muttered. "Harry Potter," said Harry. "Are you really?" said Hermione. "I know all about you, of course. I've got a few extra books for background reading, and you're in Modern Magical History and the Rise and Fall of the Dark Arts and Great Wizarding Events of the 20th Century." "Am I?" said Harry, feeling dazed. "Goodness, didn't you know? I'd have found out everything if I could if it was me," said Hermione. "Do either of you know what house you'll be in? I've been asking around. I hope I'm in Gryffindor. It sounds by far the best. I hear Dumbledore himself was in it, but I suppose Ravenclaw wouldn't be too bad. Anyway, we better go and look for Neville's toad. You two had better change, you know. I'll expect we'll be there soon." And she left, taking the toadless boy
1
with
hour.
her. "Whatever house I'm in, I hope she's not in it," said Ron. He threw his wand back into his trunk. "Stupid spell. George gave it to me, but he knew it was a dud." "What house are your brothers in?" asked Harry. "Gryffindor," said Ron, gloom to be settling on him again. "Mum and Dad were in it too. I don't know what they'll say if I'm not.
Thunder
I don't
outside.
suppose Ravenclaw would be too bad, but imagine if they put me in Slytherin." "That's the house that you know who was in?" "Yeah," said Ron, sitting down on his seat looking depressed. "You know, I think the ends of Scabbers' whiskers are a bit lighter," said Harry, trying to take Ron's mind off houses. "So what do your oldest brothers do now they've left anyway?" Harry was wondering what a wizard did once he finished school. "Charlie's in Romania studying dragons, and Bill's in Africa doing something for Gringotts," said Ron. "Did you hear about Gringotts? It's been all over the Daily Prophet, but I don't suppose you get that with the Muggles. Someone tried to rob a high-security vault." Harry stared. "Really? What happened to them?" "Well, nothing. That's why it's such big news. They haven't been caught. My dad said it must have been a powerful dark wizard to get round Gringotts, but I don't think they took anything. That's what's odd. Of course, everyone gets scared when something like this happens in case You know who's behind it. Harry turned this news over in his mind. He was starting to get a prickle of fear every time you know who was mentioned. He supposed this was all part of entering the magical world, but it had been a lot more comfortable saying Voldemort without worrying. What's your Quidditch team? Ron asked. I don't know any, Harry confessed. What? Ron looked dumbfounded. Oh, you wait. It's the best game in the world. And he was off, explaining all about the 4 balls and the positions of the 7 players, describing famous games he'd been to with his brothers and the broomstick he'd like to get if he had the money. He was just taking Harry through the finer points of the game when the compartment doors stood open yet again. But it wasn't Neville the Toadless Boy or Hermione Granger this time. 3 boys entered, and Harry recognised the middle one at once. It was the pale boy from Madame Malkin's robe shop. He was looking at Harry with a lot more interest than he'd shown back in Diagon Alley. Is it true? He said. They're all saying all down the train that Harry Potter's in this compartment. So it's you, is it? Yes, said Harry. He was looking at the other boys. Both of them were thick-set and looked extremely mean, standing on either side of the pale boy. They looked like bodyguards. Oh, this is Crabbe and this is Goyle, said the pale boy, carelessly, noticing where Harry was looking. And my name's Malfoy. Draco Malfoy. Ron gave a slight cough, which might have been hiding a snigger. Draco Malfoy looked at him.
Thanks for doing
Think my
no
name's funny, do you?
wills.
No need to
Broke
ask who
ass
you
bitch,
are.
but don't distract me,
My
please.
father told me all about the Weasleys, their red hair, freckles, and more children than they can afford. He turned back to Harry. You'll soon find out some wizarding families are better than others. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there. He held out his hand to shake Harry's, but Harry didn't take it. I think I can tell who the wrong sort are for myself, thanks, he said coolly. Draco Malfoy didn't go red, but a pink tinge appeared in his pale cheeks. I'd be careful if I were you, Potter, he said slowly. Unless you're a bit politer, you'll go the same way as your parents. They didn't know what was good for them either. You hang around with riffraff like the Weasleys and that Hagrid, and it'll rub off on you. Both Harry and Ron stood up. Say that again, Ron said, his face as red as his hair. Oh, you're going to fight us, are you? Malfoy sneered. Unless you get out now, said Harry, more bravely than he felt, because Crabbe and Goyle were a lot bigger than him or Ron. But we don't feel like leaving, do we, boys? We've eaten all our food, and you still seem to have some. Goyle reached towards the chocolate frogs next to Ron. Ron leapt forward. But before he'd so much as touched Goyle, Goyle let out a horrible yell. Scabbers the rat was hanging off his finger. Sharp little teeth sunk deep into Goyle's knuckles. Crabbe and Malfoy backed away as Goyle swung Scabbers round and round, howling, and when Scabbers finally flew off and hit the window, all 3 of them disappeared at once. Perhaps they thought there were more rats lurking among the sweets, or perhaps they'd heard footsteps, because a second later, Hermione Granger had come in. What has been going on? She said, looking at the sweets all over the floor, and Ron picking up Scabbers by his tail. I think he's been knocked out, Ron said to Harry. He looked closer at Scabbers. No, I don't believe it. He's gone back to sleep. And so he had. You've met Malfoy before? Harry explained about their meeting in Diagon Alley. I've heard of his family, said Ron darkly. They were some of the first to come back to our side after you-know-who disappeared. Said they'd been bewitched. My dad doesn't believe it. He says Malfoy's father didn't need an excuse to go over to the dark side. He turned to Hermione. Can we help you with something? You'd better hurry up and put your robes on. I've just been up to the front to ask the conductor, and he says we're nearly there. You haven't been fighting, have you? You'll be in trouble before we even get there. Scabbers has been fighting, not us, said Ron, scowling at her. Would you mind leaving us while we change? All right. I only came in here because people outside are behaving very childishly, racing up and down the corridors, said Hermione in a snippy voice. And you got dirt on your nose, by the way. Did you know? Ron glared at her as she left. Harry peered out the window. It was getting dark. He could see mountains and forests under a deep purple sky. The train did seem to be slowing down. He and Ron took off their jackets and pulled on their long black robes. Ron's were a bit short for him. You could see his sneakers underneath them. A voice echoed through the train. We will be reaching Hogwarts in 5 minutes' time. Please leave your luggage on the train. It will be taken to the school separately. Harry's stomach lurched with nerves, and Ron, he saw, looked pale under his freckles. They crammed their pockets with the last of the sweets and joined the crowd thronging the corridor. The train slowed right down and finally stopped. People pushed their way towards the door and out onto a tiny, dark platform. Harry shivered in the cold night air. Then a lamp came bobbing over their heads. Harry heard a familiar voice. There she is! There she is, over here! All right there, Harry! Hagrid's big hairy face beamed over the sea of heads. Go on, follow me! Any more first years? Mind your step now. First years, follow me! Slipping and stumbling, they followed Hagrid down what seemed to be a steep, narrow path. It was so dark on either side of them that Harry thought there must be thick trees there. Nobody spoke much. Neville, the boy who kept losing his toad, sniffed once or twice. You'll get your first sight of Hogwarts in a sec, Hagrid called over his shoulder. Just round this bend here. There was a loud ooh. The narrow path had opened suddenly onto the edge of a great black lake. Perched atop a high mountain on the other side, its windows sparkling in the starry sky, was a vast castle with many turrets and towers. No more than 4 to a boat, Hagrid called, pointing to a fleet of little boats sitting in the water by the shore. Harry and Ron were followed into their boat by Neville and Hermione. Everyone in, shouted Hagrid, who had a boat to himself. Right then, forward! And the fleet of little boats moved off all at once, gliding across the lake, which was as smooth as glass. Everyone was silent, staring up at the great castle overhead. It towered over them as they sailed nearer and nearer to the cliff on which it stood. Heads down, yelled Hagrid, as the first boats reached the cliff. They all bent their heads, and the little boats carried them through a curtain of ivy that hid a wide opening in the cliff face. They were carried along a dark tunnel, which seemed to be taking them right underneath the castle, until they reached a kind of underground harbour, where they clambered out onto rocks and pebbles. Oi, you there, is this your toad? Said Hagrid, who was checking the boats as people climbed out of them. Trevor! Cried Neville blissfully, holding out his hands. Then they clambered up a passageway into the rock after Hagrid's lamp, coming out at last onto smooth, damp grass right in the shadow of the castle. They walked up a flight of stone steps and crowded around the huge oak front door. Everyone here, you there? Still got your toad? Hagrid raised a gigantic fist and knocked 3 times on the castle door. The Sorting Hat. The door swung open at once. A tall, black-haired witch in emerald green robes stood there. She had a very stern face, and Harry's first thought was this was not someone to cross. The first years, Professor McGonagall, said Hagrid. Thank you, Hagrid. I will take them from here. She pulled the door wide. The entrance hall was so big you could have fit the whole of the Dursleys' house in it. The stone walls were lit with flaming torches, like the ones at Gringotts. The ceiling, too, was high to make out, and a magnificent marble staircase facing them led to the upper floors. They followed Professor McGonagall across the flagged stone floor. Harry could hear the drone of hundreds of voices from a doorway to the right. The rest of the school must already be here. But Professor McGonagall showed the first years into a small, empty chamber off the hall. They crowded in, standing rather close together than they would usually have done, peering about nervously. Welcome to Hogwarts, said Professor McGonagall. The start of term banquet will begin shortly, but before you take your seats in the Great Hall, you will be sorted into your houses. The sorting is a very important ceremony because, while you are here, your house will be something like your family within Hogwarts. You will have classes with the rest of your house, sleep in your house dormitory, and spend free time in your house common room. The 4 houses are called Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. Each house has its own noble history, and each has produced outstanding witches and wizards. While you are at Hogwarts, your triumphs will earn you house points, while any rule breaking will lose house points. At the end of the year, the house with the most points is awarded the House Cup, a great honor. I hope each of you will be a credit to whichever house becomes yours. The sorting ceremony will take place in a few minutes in front of the rest of the school. I suggest you all smarten yourselves up as much as you can while you're waiting. Her eyes lingered for a moment on Neville's cloak, which was fastened under his left ear, and on Ron's smudged nose. Harry nervously tried to flatten his hair. I shall return when we are ready for you, said Professor McGonagall. Please wait quietly. She left the chamber. Harry swallowed. How exactly do they sort us into houses? He asked Ron. Some sort of test, I think. Fred said it hurts a lot, but I think he was joking. Harry's heart gave a horrible jolt. A test? In front of the whole school? But he didn't know any magic yet. What on earth would he have to do? He hadn't expected something like this the moment they arrived. He looked around anxiously and saw that everyone else looked terrified too. No one was talking much except Hermione Granger, who was whispering very fast about all the spells she'd learned and wondering which one she'd need. Harry tried hard not to listen to her. He'd never been more nervous, never. Not even when he had to take a school report home to the Dursleys, saying that he'd somehow turned his teacher's wig blue. He kept his eyes fixed on the door. Any second now, Professor McGonagall would come back and lead him to his room. Then something happened that made him jump about a foot in the air. Several people behind him screamed. What the? He gasped. So did the people around him. About 20 ghosts had just streamed through the back wall. Pearly white and slightly transparent, they glided across the room, talking to one another and hardly glancing at the first years. They seemed to be arguing. What looked like a fat little monk was saying, Forgive and forget, I say. We ought to give him a second chance. My dear Friar, haven't we given Peeves all the chances he deserves? He gives us all a bad name. You know, he's not really even a ghost. I say, what are you all doing here? A ghost wearing a ruff and tights had suddenly noticed the first years. Nobody answered. New students, said the fat friar, smiling around at them. About to be sorted, I suppose. A few people nodded mutely. Hope to see you in Hufflepuff, said the friar. My old house, you know. Move along now, said a sharp voice. The sorting ceremony's about to start. Professor McGonagall had returned. One by one, the ghosts floated away through the opposite wall. Now form a line. Professor McGonagall told the first years, and follow me. Feeling oddly as though his legs had turned to lead, Harry got into line behind the boy with sandy hair, with Ron behind him. And they walked out of the chamber, back across the hall, and through a pair of double doors into the Great Hall. Harry had never even imagined such a strange and splendid place. It was lit by thousands and thousands of candles that were floating in mid-air over 4 long tables, where the rest of the students were sitting. These tables were laid with glittering golden plates and goblets. At the top of the hall was another long table, where the teachers were sitting. Professor McGonagall led the first years up here, so they came to a halt in a line facing the other students, with the teachers behind them. The hundreds of faces staring at them looked like pale lanterns in the flickering candlelight. Dotted here and there among the students, the ghosts shone misty silver. Mainly to avoid all the staring eyes, Harry looked upwards and saw a velvety black ceiling dotted with stars. He heard Hermione whisper, It's bewitched to look like the sky outside. I read about it in Hogwarts, a history. It was hard to believe there was a ceiling there at all, and that the Great Hall didn't simply open onto the heavens. Harry quickly looked down again as Professor McGonagall silently placed a 4-legged stool in front of the first years. On top of the stool, she put a pointed wizard's hat. This hat was patched and frayed and extremely dirty. Aunt Petunia wouldn't have let it in the house. Maybe that's to try and get a rabbit out of it, Harry thought wildly. That seemed the sort of thing. Noticing that everyone in the hall was now staring at the hat, he stared at it too. For a few seconds, there was complete silence. And then the hat twitched. A rip near the brim opened wide like a mouth, and the hat began to sing. Oh, you may not think I'm pretty, but don't judge on what you see. I'll eat myself if you can find a smarter hat than me. You can keep your bowlers black, your top hat sleek and tall, for I'm the Hogwarts sorting hat, and I can cap them all. There's nothing hidden in your head the sorting hat can't see. So try me on, and I will tell you where you ought to be. You might be in Gryffindor, where dwell the brave at heart, the daring nerve and chivalry set Gryffindors apart. You might belong in Hufflepuff, where they're just and loyal. Those patient Hufflepuffs are true and unafraid of toil. Or yet in wise old Ravenclaw, if you've a ready mind, where those of wit and learning will always find their kind. Or perhaps Slytherin, you'll make your real friends. Those cunning folk use any means to achieve their ends. So put me on, don't be afraid, and don't get in a flap. You're in safe hands, though I have none, for I'm a thinking cap. The whole hall burst into applause as the hat finished its song. It bowed to each of the 4 tables and then became quite still again. So we've just got to try on the hat, Ron whispered to Harry. I'll kill Fred. He was going on about wrestling a troll. Harry smiled weakly. Yes, trying on the hat was a lot better than having to do a spell. But he did wish they could have tried it on without everyone watching. The hat seemed to be asking rather a lot. Harry didn't feel brave or quick-witted or any of that at the moment. If only the hat had mentioned a house for people who felt a bit queasy, that would have been the one for him. Professor McGonagall now stepped forward, holding a long roll of parchment. When I call your name, you'll put the
Nearly
sorting hat
bankrupt.
on your head, and you'll be sorted into your houses. Abbott Hannah. A pink-faced girl with blonde pigtails stumbled out of line, put on the hat, which fell right down over her eyes, and sat down. There was a moment's pause. Hufflepuff!
This
shouted the
is
hat.
so fake.
The table on the right cheered and clapped as Hannah went to sit
No, it
down
isn't.
at the Hufflepuff table. Harry saw the ghost of the fat friar waving merrily at her. Bones, Susan. Hufflepuff! Shouted the hat again, and Susan scuttled off to sit next to Hannah. Boot, Teddy. Ravenclaw. The table, second from the left, clapped this time. Several Ravenclaws stood up to shake hands with Terry as he joined them. Brocklehurst Mandy went to Ravenclaw too, but Brown Lavender became the first new Gryffindor, and the table on the far left exploded with cheers. Harry could see Ron's twin brothers catcalling. Bulstrode Millicent then became a Slytherin. Perhaps it was Harry's imagination. After all, we'd heard about Slytherin, but he thought they looked like an unpleasant lot. He was starting to feel definitely sick now. He remembered being picked for teams during gym at his old school. He'd always been last to be chosen, not because he was no good, but because nobody wanted Dudley to think they liked him. Finch, Fletchley, Justin. Hufflepuff. Sometimes, Harry noticed, the hat shouted out the house at once, but at others, it took a little while to decide. Finnegan, Seamus. The sandy-haired boy next to Harry in the line sat on the stool for almost a whole minute before the hat declared him a Gryffindor. Granger, Hermione. Hermione almost ran to the stool and jammed the hat eagerly on her head. Gryffindor! Shouted the hat. Ron groaned. A horrible thought struck Harry, as horrible thoughts always do when you're very nervous. What if he wasn't chosen at all? What if he just sat there with the hat over his eyes for ages until Professor McGonagall jerked it off his head and said there'd obviously been some mistake and he better get back on the train? When Neville Longbottom, the boy who kept losing his toad, was called, he fell over on the way to the stall. The hat took a long time to decide with Neville. When it finally shouted, Gryffindor! Neville ran off, still wearing it, and had to jog back amid gales of laughter to give it to McDougal Morag. Malfoy swaggered forward when his name was called and got his wish at once. The hat had barely touched his head when it screamed, Slytherin! Malfoy went to join his friends Crabbe and Goyle, looking pleased with himself. There weren't many people left now. Moon, Knott, Parkinson, then a pair of twin girls, Patil and Patil, then Parks, Sally Ann, and then at last, Potter, Harry. As Harry stepped forward, whispers suddenly broke out, like little hissing fires, all over the hall. Potter, did she say? The Harry Potter? The last thing Harry saw before the hat dropped over his eyes was the hall full of people craning to get a good look at him. Next second, he was looking at the black inside of the hat. He waited. Said a small voice in his ear. Difficult, very difficult. Plenty of courage, I see. Not a bad mind either. There's talent. Oh my goodness, yes. And a nice thirst to prove yourself. Now that's interesting. So, where shall I put you? Harry gripped the edges of the stool and thought, not Slytherin, not Slytherin, not Slytherin, eh? Said the small voice. Are you sure? You could be great, you know. It's all here in your head, and Slytherin will help you on the way to greatness. No doubt about that. No? Well, if you're sure, better be Gryffindor. Harry heard the hat shout the last word to the whole hall. He took off the hat and walked shakily towards the Gryffindor table. He was so relieved to have been chosen and not put in Slytherin, he hardly noticed that he was getting the loudest cheer yet. Percy, the prefect, got up and shook his hand vigorously, while the Weasley twins yelled, "We got Potter! We got Potter!" Harry sat down opposite the ghost in the rough he'd seen earlier. The ghost patted his arm, giving Harry the sudden, horrible feeling he'd just plunged it into a bucket of ice-cold water. He could see the high table properly now. At the end nearest him sat Hagrid, who caught his eye and gave him the thumbs up. Harry grinned back. And there, in the centre of the high table, in a large gold chair, sat Albus Dumbledore. Harry recognised him at once from the card he'd gotten out of the chocolate frog on the train. Dumbledore's silver hair was the only thing in the whole hall that shone as brightly as the ghost's. Harry spotted Professor Quirrell too, the nervous young man from the Leaky Cauldron. He was looking very peculiar in a large purple turban.
He is not reading chat.
And now there are only 4 people left to be sorted. Thomas Dean, a black boy even taller than Ron, joined Harry at the Gryffindor table. Turpin Lisa became a Ravenclaw, and then it was Ron's turn. He was pale green by now. Harry crossed his fingers under the table, and a second later, the hat shouted, "Gryffindor!" Harry clapped loudly with the rest as Ron collapsed into the chair next to him. "Well done, Ron. Excellent," said Percy Weasley, pompously across Harry as the beanie Blaze was made to Slytherin. Professor McGonagall rolled up her scroll and took the sorting hat away. Harry looked down at his empty gold plate. He'd only just realised how hungry he was. The pumpkin pasties seemed ages ago. Albus Dumbledore had gotten to his feet. He was beaming at the students, his arms open wide, as if nothing could have pleased him more than to see them all there. "Welcome," he said. "Welcome to a new year at Hogwarts. Before we begin our banquet, I would like to say a few words. And here they are. Nitwig, Blubber, Oddment, Tweak. Thank you." He sat back down. Everybody clapped and cheered. Harry didn't know whether to laugh or not. "Is he a bit mad?" he asked Percy, uncertainly. "Mad," said Percy airily. "He's a genius, best wizard in the world. But he is a bit mad, yes. Potatoes, Harry?" Harry's mouth fell open. The dishes in front of him were now piled with food. He'd never seen so many things he liked to eat on one table. Roast beef, roast chicken, pork chops, lamb chops, sausages, bacon and steak. Boiled potatoes, roast potatoes, fries, Yorkshire pudding, peas, carrots, gravy, ketchup, and for some strange reason, peppermint humbugs. The Dursleys had never exactly starved Harry, but he'd never been allowed to eat as much as he liked. Dudley had always taken anything that Harry really wanted, even if it made him sick. Harry piled his plate with a bit of everything except the peppermints and began to eat. It was all delicious. "Oh, that does look good," said the ghost in the rough sadly. "Can't you? I haven't eaten for nearly 500 years, said the ghost. "I don't need to, of course, but one does miss it. I don't think I've introduced myself. Sir Nicholas de Mimsy Porpington, at your service, resident ghost of Gryffindor Tower." "I know who you are," said Ron suddenly. "My brother's told me about you. You're nearly Headless Nick." "I would prefer you to call me Sir Nicholas de Mimsy." The ghost began stiffly, but sandy-haired Seamus Finnegan interrupted. "Nearly headless? How can you be nearly headless?"
Oh, that was close.
Sir Nicholas looked extremely miffed, as if their little chat wasn't going all the way he wanted. "Like this," he said irritably. He seized his left ear and pulled. His whole head swung off his neck and fell onto his shoulder as if it was on a hinge. Someone had obviously tried to behead him, but had not done it properly. Looking pleased at the stunned looks on their faces, nearly headless Nick flipped his head back onto his neck, coughed and said, "So, new Gryffindors. I hope you're going to help us win the house championship this year. Gryffindors have never gone so long without winning. Slytherins have got the cup 6 years in a row. The bloody Baron's becoming almost unbearable. He's
Gross.
the Slytherin ghost." Harry looked over at the Slytherin table and saw a horrible ghost sitting there, with blank, staring eyes, a gaunt face, and robes stained with silver blood. It was right next to Malfoy, who, Harry was pleased to see, didn't look too pleased with this seating arrangement. "How did he get covered in blood?" asked Seamus with great interest. "I've never asked," said nearly headless Nick delicately. When everyone had eaten as much as they could, the remains of the food faded from the plates, leaving them sparkling clean as before. A moment later, the desserts appeared, blocks of ice cream in every flavour you could think of. Apple pies, treacle tarts, chocolate eclairs and jam donuts, trifle, strawberries, jelly, rice pudding. As Harry helped himself to a treacle tart, the talk turned to their families. "I'm half and half," said Seamus. "My dad's a muggle. Mum didn't tell him she was a witch till after they were married. Bit of a nasty shock for him." The others laughed. "What about you, Neville?" said Ron. "Well, me gran brought me up and she's a witch," said Neville. "But the family thought I was all muggle for ages. My great-uncle Algy kept trying to catch me off my guard and force some magic out of me. He pushed me off the end of Blackpool Pier once. I nearly drowned. But nothing happened till I was 8. Great-uncle Algy came round for dinner and he was hanging me out of an upstairs window by the ankles when my great-aunt Enid offered him a meringue and he accidentally let go. But I bounced all the way down the garden into the road. They're all really pleased. Grandma's crying. She was so happy. And you should have seen their faces when I got in here. They thought I might not be magic enough to come, you see. Great-uncle Algy was so pleased, he bought me my toad." On Harry's other side, Percy Weasley and Hermione were talking about lessons. "Oh, I do hope they start right away. There's so much to learn. I'm particularly interested in transfiguration, you know, turning something into something else. It's supposed to be very difficult. You'll be starting small, just matches into needles and that sort of thing." Harry, who was starting to feel warm and sleepy, looked up at the high table again. Hagrid was drinking deeply from his goblet. Professor McGonagall was talking to Professor Dumbledore. Professor Quirrell, in his absurd turban, was talking to a teacher with greasy black hair, a hooked nose, and sallow skin. It happened very suddenly. The hook-nosed teacher looked past Quirrell's turban straight into Harry's eyes,
Something
and
in
a
my
sharp,
eye.
hot pain shot across the scar
I'm
on Harry's
cooked.
forehead. "Ouch!" Harry clapped a hand to his head. "What is it?" asked Percy. "Oh, nothing." The
I'm
pain had gone
cooked.
as quickly as it had come. Harder to shake off was the feeling Harry had gotten from the teacher's look, a feeling that he didn't like Harry at all. "Who's that teacher talking to Professor Quirrell?" he asked Percy. "Oh, you know Quirrell already, do you? No wonder he's looking so nervous. That's Professor Snape. He teaches potions, but he doesn't want to. Everyone knows he's after Quirrell's job, knows an awful lot about the dark arts, Snape." Harry watched Snape for a while, but Snape didn't look at him again. At last, the desserts too disappeared, and Professor Dumbledore got to his feet again. The hall fell silent. "Just a few more words now that we're all fed and watered. I have a few start-of-term notices
Close.
to give you. First years should take note that the forest on the grounds is forbidden to all pupils, and a few of our older students would do well to remember that as well." Dumbledore's twinkling eyes flashed in the direction of the Weasley twins.
Oh, I'm
"I've
cooked.
also been asked by Mr. Filch, the caretaker, to remind you all that no magic should be used between classes in the corridors. Quidditch trials will be held in the second week of the term. Anyone interested in playing for their house should contact Madame Hooch. And finally, I must tell you that this year, the third floor corridor on the right-hand side is out of bounds to everyone who does not wish to die a very painful death." Harry laughed, but he was one of the few who did. "He's not serious," he muttered to Percy. "Must be," said Percy, frowning at Dumbledore. "It's odd, because he usually gives us a reason why we're not allowed to go somewhere. The forest's full of dangerous beasts. Everyone knows that. I do think you might have told us prefects at least. And now, before we go to bed, let us sing
I'm
the school
cooked.
song, cried Dumbledore. Harry noticed the other teachers' smiles had become rather fixed. Dumbledore gave his wand a flick, as if he was trying to get a fly off the end, and a long golden ribbon flew out of it, which rose high above the tables and twisted itself, snake-like, into words. Hogwarts, Hogwarts, Hoggy, Warty, Hogwarts. Teach us something, please, whether we be old and bald or young with scabby knees. Our heads could do with filling with some interesting stuff, for now they're bare and full of air, dead flies and bits of fluff. So teach us things worth knowing. Bring back what we've forgot. Just do your best. We'll do the rest and learn until our brains all rot. Everybody finished the song at different times. At last, only the Weasley twins were left singing along to a very slow funeral march. Dumbledore conducted their last few lines with his wand, and when they'd finished, he was one of those who clapped the loudest. Ah, music, he said, wiping his eyes. A magic beyond all we do here. And now, bedtime, off you trot. The Gryffindor first years followed Percy through the chattering clouds, out of the Great Hall, and up the marble staircase. Harry's legs were like lead again, but only because he was so tired and full of food. He was too sleepy even to be surprised that the people in the portraits along the corridors whispered
cooked.
and pointed as they passed, or that twice Percy
Yo!
led them through doorways,
Yo, did I get it?
sliding panels and hanging tapestries. They climbed more
I
steps,
got it!
yawning and dragging their feet. And Harry
Timer
was just
only goes to
wondering how much
132.
farther they had to go when they came to
I
a
got
tiny
the
hill.
record! I'll go keep going.
A bundle of walking sticks was floating in
No
midair
fucking
ahead of
way!
him.
I got the
And
record!
as Percy took a step
I
forward,
got the
they
record!
thrown themselves at him. Please, Percy
I will
whispered
keep
to the
going.
first years. A poltergeist. He raised his voice. Please, show yourself. A loud, rude sound, like the air being let out
keep
of a
it going.
balloon, answered. Do you want me to go to the bloody Baron? There was a pop, and a little man
This
with
is not
wicked
fake.
dark eyes and a wide mouth appeared, floating cross-legged in the air, clutching the walking sticks.
Stop spamming 9/11 emojis, please.
What fun, he said with an evil cackle. He swooped suddenly at them, and they all ducked. Go away, Peeves.
There's
All the
some
Baron
shit in
hear
my eye,
about
though.
it,
I don't know
and
how long I
mean
got.
it, barked Percy. Peeves stuck out his tongue and vanished.
I don't got long. There's shit in my eye. A hater sent $5, bro. Yeah, I'm proud of myself, bro. I'm very proud of myself. That was a thumbs up. Somebody just keep the timer going. I don't know how long it is now. I'll just. I'm going past the record, bro. I'm way past it. How sad is this? How you waste your time? I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny. I got the freaking record. I'm still going. Chat, share it. Share it to the whole world. Tell the world Normie's still going. Past the record, baby. We never quit. Never back down, never what? 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 Never give up! Matt Christina A. Young was here. Ha 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 ha. Oop, nearly blinked there. Never back down, never what? Hair in my eye. Hair in my eye. Emergency. Damn, I'm not even gonna touch it. There's hair in my eye, I'm not touching it. I should not have moved my eye. Let me cook. Let me cook. I've ascended past mortal limitations. Oh my god, I got it. I got the record, bruh. Somebody else needs to like count up how long this is now because I have no clue. Does anybody know how long I've been going? Because I lost count at 1 hour and 32 minutes. Not to brag. Somebody ban Miles Craft. He's a hater. We got haters in chat. I love how the hater has been watching like the whole stream. I got the record. I'm going further, bro. Mr. Hot Dog wants me to blink. I want to fail. I'm gonna keep going until I fail. I'm not just gonna like deliberately blink. I'm going until like I lose. That was bad. That was close. It's gonna happen soon. You're not gonna be waiting long, chat. Might as well set the personal best so nobody else can take it as easily. You know, a few minutes will make a big difference, bro. I failed by 4 minutes last time. So if I can just get a couple extra minutes, it'll stop somebody from taking my record too quick. I'm at 1 hour 48 minutes. Let's take it to 2 hours. Nope, that was close. That was close. I got 2 hours, 10 minutes? That's not true. I know you late. God damn. What? Take out the light? What'd you say? If I take out the light, you can't see me, and then there's no proof that I get the record. This chat is the worst I've ever seen. They're banning people who are telling them to stop because it's dangerous. Yeah, those are called haters, bro. We don't take haters. Never give up. Never back down. Never. Was that a blink? Never back down. Never what? Never give up. That's right, Chad. Never give up. I'm not giving up. I'm going until my eyes pop. Okay, one of these twitches is gonna get me. I guarantee it. Ban Zavery. Hater. Hater. Or don't ban him. You know what? New rule. No more banning haters. Ooh, was that a blink? Felt like a blink just now. That felt like a blink. I'm watching it back. Hater. Hater. Or don't ban him. You know what? New rule. No more banning haters. Ooh, was that a blink? No, it wasn't. No way, it wasn't. Ooh, was that a blink? I thought I was out for sure. How much pain am I in? Immense pain. Oh, that felt bad. That felt bad. I think I saw that. Honestly, I just kind of want to fail at this point. Let me watch it. How much pain am I in? Immense pain. Oh, that felt bad. That looks bad too. Immense pain. Oh, oh. No, they didn't close. Go frame by frame, chat. They didn't close. Well, halfway, but they didn't close. Never back. I mean, I guess I've already broken the record, but yeah, they didn't close, so I guess I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going, because I don't know fail. I'm waiting until I genuinely fail. Never back down, never what? Am I able to turn this away? Will you not be able to see me? Okay, now you can see me, right? Oh, welcome, baby. Normally only 5 minutes for 2 hours. No way, really? Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. That felt like a blink, but I'm just gonna hope it wasn't. He's cheating? Oh, you're nerd emojing somebody. World record, baby. World record, baby. Snort dust from my table and continue the challenge. World record, baby. Yeah, even if I broke, I'm just trying to get to 2 hours now. 1 more minute and I'm at 2 hours. Make it harder for anybody else to come close to the record. Yeah, I beat it, Kay. I'm just trying to get to 2 hours. No, oh shoot, were you going off of the stream length? Random chatter? No. The stream length isn't the length of my, because I failed a couple attempts, so I'm not at 2 hours yet. Frick! I knew it seemed too good to be true. Damn! So what am I actually at? Somebody go look at the timestamp of when the timer ran out, please. Look at the timestamp of when the timer ran out, and then add that onto like what time it is now, and you'll be able to use serious math skills to find out how long I've actually been going. Because 2 hours is wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not at 2 hours. You children. You are all children. You are all 9 years old. You are all 9 years old. Learn how to do maths. Kay, can you do it, please? I saw Kay in chat, and he's older than 9. See you, Tina. I'm not at 2 hours, Ben. I'm not at 2 hours. That's just how long the stream has been going, but I failed like a 6-minute attempt. Ooh, that felt bad. I mean, are these half blinks, or can we count a half blink? It's been 1 hour 51, so I got 9 minutes. That makes sense, yeah. Oh! I think I'm out. I'm gonna watch it back. Chat, rewind, watch it back. It's been 1 hour 51, so I got 9 minutes. That makes sense, yeah. Oh! No, I'm not out. I'm not out. Watch it back, frame by frame. No, I'm not out. I mean, these twitches are getting bigger. Stop spamming 9/11 in the chat, please. God damn! 9 more minutes till 2 hours, okay. Okay, guys, I'm sorry that I keep asking if I blinked. I just genuinely cannot feel my eyelids. So I have no clue if I blink or not. But I can kind of see myself in the playback. And sometimes it looks like I blink. But I have to rewatch it. I have to... Twitch. I'm gonna have the biggest headache. Hey, somebody's an Etsy in chat. Don says 5 minutes left. I trust that guy's maths. No, I don't. You know, this challenge is like so much harder because my dumbass decided to shine a flashlight in my eyes. It's a million times harder than I had to be. Spam a flushed emoji. Okay, that's the symbol. That's our super secret symbols. Spam flushed emoji. I'm setting a new world record. Mutar's record is broken, bro. Some ordinary gamer's record has been broken. He had 1 hour and 31 minutes. 2 minutes until 2 hours. I don't think I'm gonna make it. That felt bad. Oh, that felt bad. That was a big twitch. That was a big one. I need to get this flashlight out of my eyes, so I'm going to use my computer light to shine on my face. So hopefully it's bright enough. No problem. Here's the information about Mercedes CLR GRT. Two-minute. Wait. Shoot, I think I got it. I got it, Chad. Did I? 2 hours? 2 hours, yeah! Alright, I'm gonna keep going, but I wanna try and use the computer's LED light. Okay. Yeah! That's the old video I had to check. Okay, let me run it. Oop. Oop. Just gotta check if that light works. Yeah, I'm really struggling here. Okay, so that works. Alright. Okay, so you can still see me. Alright. Okay, I'm done looking at Twitter. Oh yeah, baby. Oh, can you see that in the reflection of my eyes? Never mind. Oh. Block Miles Craft. Nah, he's allowed to have his opinions. You know, there's always gonna be haters in life who just don't sip on the power juice like us, bro. They don't sip lean like us. We sip lean. We're just too busy sipping lean. I should have had my timer keep going past 1 hour. I was gonna set it for 2 hours. Okay, I'm writing in chat. Beaten record. Going until failure. I can't believe it, bruh. Finally done it. How old is Miles? Miles is a lifelong friend of mine. Foxy Buxy 415 was here, chat. Yeah, you know it. Spam it up. So many people leaving. That's pretty true. I'm still going. I'm just going until I fail. I want to set the highest new record as possible. I want to set the highest record. Fuck! Ow! Damn it! Yes! Oh. Okay? But yeah, I got it! I got it! I got the record, baby! Oh! Ah! Whoa! Ah! Do you see these eyes? Look at my eyes, show what you see. Whoop. Ah! Big ups! Big ups! Whoa! Woo! Yeah! Yes! Ah. Yep, they're fine. I think they're fine. I don't know. Woo! I'm not gonna lie, I kind of washed out there. I probably could have gone a bit longer. Look at my eyes, don't you see? Bada boop. Fiend. Come on, stop again. What? Hello. We did it. Oh my god, bro. We beat him. We beat that record gang. Hello, world! I beat the record. This is how I got doxxed last time. Ugh. I beat the record. What's that? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Chad, this is crazy. How does nobody care? I just beat the record, bro. Why does no one care? I beat the record, bro. Hey, wait up. I beat the record. They didn't care. They didn't care about it. It's almost like nobody cares. Ugh. Oh, I made the record. This guy doesn't blink. This guy doesn't blink. I got a world record.
What's going on out here? What are you doing?
Done. I got the world record.
By a lot,
I
too.
got the world record. Half an hour I made him at.
Yeah. Who'd you just tell?
Nobody. There's nobody here. Nobody cares.
Oh,
I told the world.
the world.
I told the world.
Very blue.
I got it. I win.
You're like the world record guy now.
You know how I win? Cause I never back down, never
give up.
back down, never what?
Never give up.
Did you lock us out?
What?
You just locked us out. Never back down, never what? No, that's not. It's not his birthday. It was Finn's birthday. I'm sorry, Dynasty. You got the wrong guy. Alright, guess I'm ending the stream. I'll stream again in 2 months. Yeah, I'll be back in 2 months to break another record. No, I'll be back in September. 19 days, no sleep! No sleep, September!
30 days. Just do
Oh shit, yeah. 30 days, no sleep, guys. No sleep, September. Oh, were you watching?
Yeah, well, yeah.
For like a minute.
No, for like 10 minutes. No, actually, more like 20.
This guy's a fan. This guy's
I'm a
blazing.
fan.
Were you actually passively watching? Like, did you have something else open?
Whatever. No, both at times. Who knows? I was watching when you beat the record.
Oh, that's nice. I wasn't, because I was like I was that close to losing that I was not like watching the screen. I was like, I was locked in, But then as soon as I passed the record, I was like, I was on Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that. You were like, I guess because you had the record, you weren't too worried.
I don't know what the fuck. No, I had to lock in before I beat it. But then as soon as I beat the record, I was on Twitter. I was polishing.
You were
I was
reading
I was reading chat. I was checking the engagement. But to be fair, how long did I actually last after that record?
Like another 40 minutes or 30 minutes.
Okay, yeah. But that, it would have probably been longer if I'd stayed locked in. Okay, chat. Ending the stream. Viewing tomorrow. No water for 1 week. Come on, guys. You know what? Spam up some new stream suggestions. Playing Roblox. Longest time playing Roblox. I'll start you off. That's an idea. But, spam up the stream suggestion, guys. Come on, Dion. Do the...
Drinking.
It's sip and lean. It's our symbol for... It's the normie symbol for sip and lean. Come on, Dion.
Yum! Whoa! Lean! The drink of choice for all Normie Nation. Wait until you get an actual drink sponsor.
Wait till I get what?
An actual drink sponsor.
Lean's a drug.
And then you can do this. No.
Lean
is
Wait until I'm on Prime. They'll do it. Prime else. Okay. We ending the stream, chat.
See you next time.
Not a
Normie
single person,
Records.
bro. Not a single person DM'd me. Nobody gives a shit. Okay.
It's weird because I think this one's impressive.
Good night. You do think this one's impressive?
Yeah, I think I would have thought it would be longer.
Wait,
but
can you get the shirts? You thought it would take you thought it would take a week.
No. I thought the record itself would be longer. And I also thought it would take you longer to ramp up to it. What do you want the shirts from? You gonna show them off to the chat? Well, while we've got you here, check out the brand new merch.
No, this isn't merch. I'm not saying anything. But guys, look, America Trip 2024. We're coming to America. I'm not doing any fan meetups, so I don't know why I would tell you that. We're going to Texas.
Fan
chat.
meetup, everybody. Meet us in Texas.
Yeah, you know what? At Vid Summit, guys. At Vid Summit, fan meetup.
I'll do
September.
a fan meetup. I'll do a fan meetup.
I don't
Who
remember.
wants to meet? Do my fans want to meet me?
September 3 in Dallas, Texas at Vid Summit. But none of you are invited, so I'm just flexing on you. Well, I mean, you can show up if you wanted to, but you probably won't get in. All right, chat. Bye-bye. Comment your stream suggestions. Comment your world record suggestions. Anything that you could think of. Let's get it, boys. Going to America next week. Woo! We're going to America, Dion! We're going to America!
We're also going to Sydney.
Yes! Yeah! Oh, we're going to Sydney on the 28th. If you're in Sydney, guys, we should have gotten shirts made for the fan meetup in Sydney.
Oh, do you want to just get white shirts and draw on them?
Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Guys, Sydney fan meetup. Okay, whatever, I'm losing viewers. Bye-bye, guys. But Sydney fan meetup on the 28th. That's Australian time. Wait, where are we meeting? At the Opera House, maybe. Oh, I don't want to... No, you know what, guys? It's cancelled. All right, bye-bye, because people might actually...